Please be seated.
អង្គ
The court is now back in session. Again, the floor is given to the lawyer for civil parties to put for the question to the civil party. Lawyer for civil parties. Thank you, Mr. President. Allow me to resume my questioning. Madam Civil Party, before the break, we talked about your marriage and about your consummation of that marriage. And let me go back a little bit. Before the marriage, were they told you that you would be married to this particular man or not? Answer. We were not told, for example, that I would get married to that man. I was told to attend that wedding marriage. And when I was there, I did not look at his face. However, I looked at his legs, and I noticed that he was handicapped. And I felt upset about that, and I wept. Question. Was he handicapped on one of his legs? President Civil Party, please observe the microphone. Answer. On the day that got married, I noticed that he was handicapped in one of his legs. And after the marriage, I noticed that he also had a very poor eyesight on one of his eyes, and on the other, on his arms, his 3 fingers were crooked. And I became even more upset after that. Question. Did they instruct you that you had to marry that man? Or that there would be a consequence if you did not? Alternatively, can you tell the chamber whether you dare to refuse through that marriage? Answer. Under the regime, nobody dared to oppose the Angka or the party. Whether we could or could not go along with one another, we could not show it in the public. We had to keep it to ourselves. It was not like when we disliked one another, we could divorce or separate our way. No, that could not. That was not possible. And if we did not obey the disciplines or orders, then we would be killed like animals. Question. That is exactly the point. Who actually introduced you to get married? Was it your unit chief or was it somebody else? Answer. After I got married, there were rumors that says that if I did not obey the Angka disciplines, that I would be sent to sleep in that peaceful place. However, or rather, I would be sent to sleep at my district. However, I did not show my feeling at all, that I told everybody that I slept with my husbands every day. And at the unions, they believed what I said. Question. Were you scared? Answer: after I got married, I was scared. I was thinking every a moment I could not sleep well, I could not eat well, and I had to endure hard labor, and that is in addition to insufficient food. And the only thing that I was thinking is that I would die one day, and that if I did not go along well with him, Angka would send me to be killed. And I tried not to allow any of my peers to know my true feeling. Although we did not go well together, I pretended that we go well together, and he came to visit me every month. I almost forgot his face when he returns for his next visit. And one day that when my husband came to visit me, somebody said why I did not go to receive him, but because I forgot his face already. And because at that time he was amongst many other men who came to visit their wives, and then I was asked to take my husband to my place. And at the time there was the unit chief there, and my husband followed the unit chief. Then I knew that he was my husband. Question: you said that after the marriage you were sent to sleep in a long house. Was that house prepared exclusively for the newly married couples? Answer: they built that long house, and that was exclusively for the use of the newly married couples. And those who married at a union, they were allowed to stay there for 3 days as well. And some couples understood that there was a time that they would go to stay and to meet each other there. Then we would go to that house, and of course we were being monitored by Angka. We were threatened, and that we were scared. And for me, I was constantly threatened, and I always wept when my husband came to visit me. And at that house where I slept, there was no sleeping mat or mosquito net. There was no blanket, no pillows. And we had to endure all that thing. Some people brought along their sleeping materials, but for me, I did not have anything. It's like when I went to sleep in a hut at a farm. Question: so you were allowed to meet once every month. Whose idea was it to make such an arrangement? Answer: after we got married, Comrade So convened a meeting, and we were told that for the newly married people, you could not sleep together or stay together every time, and that there would be an arrangement for us to meet. That is, we could meet 3 nights per month, and if we did more than that, we would be disciplined. And that also happens to other couples who got married later on. As in my case, after the marriage, my husband went to his place while I stayed at the union, and when he was allowed to come, then he had to see Comrade So first, and Comrade So would relay that information to me, and that I would go and see him. Question: You just stated that you were forced and that you were raped by your husband. Can you tell the chamber what he did and what he said, so that you would consent to the sexual intercourse? Answer: I was forced to have sex with him. That day I was sleepy because on the first night I didn't dare to sleep, and on that day I slept, and when I woke up he hugged me, and then he threatened me. He threw off my clothes. In fact, he tore away my underpants. He ripped my shirt, although I tried to protest it. He said that we were husband and wives, and if I shout, then Anka would kill us both. I cried, and I said my father would not allow any man to do that to me because I was a woman, and that he was a man. But he said that was Anka's instructions, and that he had to follow that instruction. I kept weeping that night, throughout the whole night. Question: did your husband tell you that he was forced to act or to do that to you? I did not know whether Anka instructed him to do that. The only thing I knew that he himself did that to me for his own purpose. And he says that what he did was following Anka's instructions, otherwise we both would be killed. So I did not know whether Anka instructed him to do or whether he did it on his own initiative. Question: how did you feel at the time? Answer: I hurt physically and morally, because there was it was the pain that he inflicted upon me physically, and morally I was hurt by his act, and there was nothing I can do besides weeping, and I regretted for what happened, and that I betrayed my father's words. So all these things added together caused me worried, and I could not sleep, and I could not eat, and I became pale. Question: now I move to another topic, that is when you became pregnant. You said your husband was sent elsewhere while you were pregnant. Can you tell the chamber where he worked and what kind of work he did? Answer: my husband came from Thnolkai and to live in Thmor Poon. So he sought permissions to live in the Thmor Poon cooperative. Later on he was separated to go and raise ducks at Sangkat. And when there were many ducks that he raised, then he was sent to Precho That's where there was a handicraft where they produce scarves and where they made hoes and axes. And again, there he was instructed to raise ducks again. When he came to visit me, he told me that it was useless to keep the handicapped people, and he was worried that he would not live to see our child born. And a bit before I delivered my baby, he told me to go and run and live in the forest, and I told him it means that if he fled to the forest, then I would be killed as well. I told him about that while I was weeping, and I told him if he fled to the forest, then he should kill me first, and he said that he could not do that. And he said that if he could live, he would look after me, but if he was taken away and killed, that would be the end of our life together. And that it was like the last verse that he told me. And when he returned to Predatang, he disappeared. And about 10 days after, my father went to ask about him at the Sangkat of his whereabouts, because I was about to deliver my baby. That is when my father spoke to Comrade Korp, and Comrade Korp lied to my father that he would deliver the message. So my father returns to me, and when I delivered my baby, there was no proper light. He had to burn some wood to warm me and my baby. My feeling was so unsettling at the time, but I said to myself that I could not die, because if I died, it means my baby would die. So I had to leave to look after my baby. And about a month after I delivered my baby, Comrade Jane came to my house to search for something. And then Jane looked at my baby and said, if Angkai requested my child to be smashed, what would I say? I wept and I said, Comrade Jane, look at my baby. Look at the black eyes. It means that if my baby were to die, then there was nothing for me to live. A few days later, there were two men who came to my house, and I was so shocked upon seeing them. I was afraid that they would come for us. And after that, I became sick for 5 days. So throughout my pregnancy and delivery, I was so mistreated by these people at the cooperative. Question: at the time you delivered your baby, did you receive medical support? And as for women who delivered their babies at the time, it was like an adventure, since there was no professional midwife. For me myself, there was a neighbor who was pretty young, but who had some experience in baby delivery. So I was assisted by that neighbor, and it was lucky that I could deliver my baby. And my father made some herbal medicine for me to drink, so that all the blood would flush out from my body. There was no proper midwives, as I said during the time. Everything was done according to nature. question. Were you afraid that is during your pregnancy and until the time that you delivered your baby? Answer. During the time, I did not feel the warmth. I only felt the terror and fear. When I slept at night, I only wished that the morning would come soon. At the time, there was nothing besides the killings. We could hear about the killing almost on a daily basis. And then we were instilled with such a constant fear. They spoke about the tendency or implication. As in my case, my husband disappeared and I was implicated. For that reason, I lived in fear with my baby. Even at present, when I think of it, I still feel the fear. Question, let me go back a little bit. After you got married, was there any event, another wedding event, or was your event the only marriage events that you knew of? Answer. There were a series of wedding events. There was one event that took place prior to my event, and after that there was another set of a marriage, although I cannot recall the exact months. It happened a few months after. So older people in the unit would be gathered to get married. Although I did not know exactly how many couples got married during those two separate events, and during my events there were 15 couples. Lawyer for civil party. Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have any further question. I'd like to cede the floor to lead co-lawyer Bích Ong. Thank you, Mr. President, and I'd like to ask the additional questions to Madam Civil Party. I only have some questions. Good afternoon, Madam Civil Party. My name is Bích Ong, and I have some questions to put to you. When you decided to get married, can you tell the chamber whether you were scared to get married at that moment, and if so, why? Answer. Allow me to respond to that question. At that time, I was not told that I would marry this man or that man. So, for that reason, I did not feel that I wanted to get married at all. But I was scared. I was scared of the killing, of the threats that I received. I was afraid that if I did not obey Angkar's instructions, then I would be killed. So I went to that location in tears. As for the attire, we did not have any proper dress for the wedding. Council interrupts. Madam Civil Party, you said that you were scared. The question is, why were you scared? Answer. I was scared because I was threatened that I would be either killed or put in a prison. They don't use the word imprisoned, but they said that I would be sent to an office. And I was afraid to die. That's one thing. The the other thing is that I would be detained in that office, I would be deprived of food, and that I would be chained or shackled in that office. And because of such fear, I had to force myself to live with my husband for that period of 4 months. Question: did you witness any event or any couple or anyone who refused to get married, and what happened to that person, if you recall it? Answer: at that time I knew that some people who got married did not go along together because they had their fiancé at the village, and the women did not agree to go along with the men, and later on they disappeared from the union. Question: if that is the case, do you recall their names or name, that is the person who disappeared? Answer: the name was Prương, Camra Prương. Question: in your response to Council Argentine regarding the times that you went to live with your husband, you were raped by him, and that you were told that he did it according to Angkar's instructions. Later on, after he raped you, did he commit such act again? That is, he raped you subsequently? Council Kong Sam On, Mr. President. President, yes, Council Kong Sam On, you have the floor. Kong Sam On, thank you, Mr. President. From what I have heard from the civil parties, she actually said that she did not know whether the rape were actually Angkar's instructions, and so the miscategorization by lead co-lawyer is not appropriate. But Mr. President, based on what I understood, and also based on her response in 43 in document E3/9820, she said her husband says he did it according to Angkar's instructions. But the question is, she was not sure whether the words were given to him to tell her. And of course, she says that her husband told me those words. And for that reason, I'd like to ask for clarification from Madam Civil Party, so we are clear about it. Madam Civil Party, when your husband raped you, did he provide any explanation? Did he use the words that I just quoted? Answer: initially, when he raped me, that is, after I fell asleep, he hugged me, and after I woke up, he tightened his hug. I waved and I told him not to do that, and that I did not want him to do that. And he says that if I did not allow him to do that, how could he achieve Angkar's or party's instructions? And if he did not do that, we all would be killed or would die. And for that reason, he forced me, he threatened me, And although I assaulted, he says that I should not do that. I tried to get away from his grip, but in the end, because I was weak, I was a woman, I became fatigued and I succumbed to his threat. And he raped me. And that was the word that he said. But I did not know whether whom or Angka ordered him to do that to me.
Lawyer, thank you, Madam Civil Party. I would like to put a follow-up question. Was there any time that you participated in a meeting where a cadre or cadres told you about the fact about the reasons that Angka arranged the marriage for all of you? Answer. On the wedding day, I heard the party's leader said, the civil party, that Angka wanted to increase the force. So marriage would have to be arranged so that children could be produced and the population could be increased. So after the wedding, we were required to produce the children for the party and live together. During the time, I did not know about how to produce the children, and I kept weeping. My mother told me that child was delivered through the cuff of the leg. And I did not understand the meaning of the explanation by my mother. I was consoled by my mother, and I did not know about the marriage. I heard from Angka that Angka needs to have more forces. I did not really understand. I did not want to live with my husband, but I could not do. Question. Madam Civil Party, my international colleague did not really understand what you said. So why Angka wanted you to produce the children? What were the purposes? Answer. Angka said that Angka wanted us to produce the children to engage in the revolution, and we were required to produce children to build the country. Question. Who said that? Could you tell the chamber his or her position and function? Answer. So the chief of the unit did a mention about that, and that chief told us to produce children so that more forces could be used to engage in the revolution during the time. I myself did not really understand his or her statement. Again, Comrade So did say that Angka wanted more forces to engage in the revolution and to build the country. And the wedding was meant to produce more children in order that the party have more members. Question. After that meeting where you heard about the statement, was there any time that you could hear about the same statement in other locations? Answer. I heard about it in a meeting, and I heard from others as well who were married. Those married people said that the party needed more forces. Meetings usually were convened, and I learned from the married people that more forces were needed by the Angka. That is why marriages were arranged for us to produce more children. Question. What was your husband's name? And could you describe the chamber, his physical feature? Answer. My husband's name was Cao. He was referred to by Cao. He was a handicapped person as a result of war. He had been engaged in the battlefields, so he became handicapped in his fingers. And if he closed one of his eyes, he could not see. And he was handicapped as well in his ankle, one of his ankles. So he was a really handicapped person, and he could not do hard labor. Question. Were you told the reason for you to marry a handicapped man? I was not told about the reasons on the wedding day, but I heard the rumor from one another that the handicapped man would be organized to marry the women in the unit. I heard from other people, and I did not receive the direct information from the chief or from the leaders. It was just a rumor at the time, and I did not pay attention to it. I was not interested in marrying anyone at the time. Question. Did you hear that the handicapped men would get married to women because they had engaged in war? Answer. I heard from others that handicapped men were allowed to marry women because they had engaged in battlefields and had liberated the country. So those handicapped men would be allowed to marry to beautiful women. That is what I heard. Question. Who said that, Madame Civil Party? Do you know his or her name? Answer. I did not hear from the unit chief at the time. I heard from other women. The rumor was from those women that the handicapped men would marry the beautiful women in the union or in the units. I did not pay attention to that statement. I was only focused on my work day and night. I was not interested in the wedding. I did not realize that I would have been married a handicapped man. Question. I would like to backtrack a little bit about the consummation of your marriage. Did you consummate the marriage willingly? Did you agree to marry to consummate your marriage with your husband with your own will? After the rape, I mean. Answer. After I was raped, he continued to console me that I had lost my virginity already. He explained that to me, that I did not have any virginity to return to any man or for anyone. I was disappointed from that time onward, and I bore the situation. Lawyer, thank you, Madam Civil Party. I would like to put a few more questions to you. You did make a mention about losing your virginity. So how did you feel after you were explained that you had lost your virginity? Did you feel regret? Answer: regarding losing my virginity, I have felt regret from that time onward. As a woman in Cambodian society, I usually adhere to the advice of my parents that I should only give my virginity to the man whom I was married with my own will. I feel regret and I feel remorse. I should not have lost my virginity without the presence of my parents in the wedding day, according to Cambodian tradition and customs. During the wedding day, the people who were present on the day was only the unit chief and other people that I did not know. Question: you stated that there were 3 sessions on the wedding day, and could you tell the chamber how many couples were required to get married on that day in each session? Because you said that your marriage was arranged in the 3rd or 4th session. Answer: there were 50 couples at the time, and on that day I was standing and looking at the wedding arrangement, and after observing the wedding ceremony I left that wedding hall, and later on I also went to see the wedding celebration. 30 or 40 couples were later arranged to get married. I did go to observe the wedding celebration, and later on the marriage was arranged for me. That was the time that I experienced in my life, the marriage. And later on I learned marriages were arranged as well for widow women, 12 couples. The information was learned by me as well. And on that wedding day, the wedding of the widow women, I was not allowed to go and see the celebration. Lawyer, in your statement you said that you got married together with other 11 or 12 couples. You can refer to your statement E3/9820. How many couples were there on the day of your marriage? Answer: there were 15 couples, including me, including my couple. I did not know I was in which couple or which number. I was matched to a man, and I was told that there were 15 couples on that day. In the statement, I made mention that 12 couples got married later on after my wedding. President, lawyer for civil parties, did you have a discussion with the co-prosecutor about the allocation of time between you two? Mr. President, the co-prosecutor allows us to use all of the time allotted to the two parties. And Mr. President, I do not have many more questions to put to the civil party. Madam Civil Party, I would like to continue my question. You stated that your husband was taken away and killed. And did anyone harm your child after the child was born? Answer. After my husband had been arrested 10 days or more, 10 days later, I delivered the baby. And 1 month later, perhaps, and at the time I was not yet told to go to work. 1 month later, Jane went up to my house to see if I had kept papayas and other fruits in the house. And after seeing that I had no papayas and other fruits, she came and looked at the baby and told me that the baby should be taken away and killed. Why? He asked me why I wanted to keep the baby. I replied at the time that the baby did not know anything. The baby did not know about the policy of the party, and I told her that if she wanted to kill the baby, she should kill me first. Because if the baby was killed, I would feel very, very unhappy. Then, after hearing that, Jane left my house. Lawyer, how did you feel? Were you afraid after hearing that? Answer. I felt so terrified after hearing that. I was weeping, and I felt that I could not breathe at the time because I had just delivered the baby. My father was there, and he told me to be strong because life is not permanent. That is what he told me. But I still continue weeping, although he consoled me. Question. You were told that the marriage was meant to produce children so that the population could be increased. And you have now just mentioned that the baby was wanted for execution because the baby was considered the child of the enemy. What is your understanding after you were explained that the policy of Angka was to produce more children? President, please hold on. Madam Civil Party, you may now have the floor. Antaguse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I intervene now. I could have done so earlier. I've heard things said by my colleague on several occasions and did not square with what the Civil Party said. I lost something in the interpretation. He said they wanted to kill the baby because it was a child of an enemy. I didn't hear the Civil Party say so.
Lawyer, Madam Civil Party did say that. Madam Civil Party again. could you clarify for the chamber what was the person who came to your house saying when she saw the baby? Civil party. Let me clarify for the court. After I delivered the baby, Yen went up into my house and said that the child belongs to the father who was the enemy. And I protested at the time that my baby was very young and did not know what the policy of the Angkar. Lawyer, I would like to move to my last set of questions. You got married in Khmer Rouge time and your husband died in the regime. Did someone discriminate against you because you married a man in the Khmer Rouge time and your husband had been killed? Answer. After my husband had been arrested and killed, I was linked to him. I was under surveillance. I was threatened at all times. I could not live with happy life. Sometimes they said, "You betray Angkar. You should not be kept." This is the words that they use to insult me. The unit chief, the chief of cooperative, insulted me by using that word. I felt disappointed in my mind. I was very afraid that I would be taken away and killed because killing and execution was imminent during the time. I was so afraid that I would die and I would leave my baby and child behind. I was criticized that I was linked to the treacherous network because my husband, my elder brother and sister betrayed the regime. Mr. President, I am done now, and I would like to give the floor to the co-prosecutor. President, it is now time for the co-prosecutors to put questions to the civil party. You may now proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honours, all the parties, there are 5 minutes left today. I'll use approximately 25 to 30 minutes on Monday. I have a few questions for you, Madam Civil Party, before we adjourn today. I would like us to talk about the period following your delivery. After the delivery, did you start working? And if yes, how long after the delivery of the baby?
Two months after delivery, I was instructed to cut palm leaves so that palm leaves could be used to roof the place where we stayed. And I was doing that job until I could not walk.
Dois-je comprendre que c'était des travaux?
I understand that the work was quite tedious, the work you were asked to do at that time, isn't it?
It was hard work for the woman who had just delivered the baby. During the time, work was assigned to us, no matter we were men or women. They did not feel pity on us. I was working together with Ye Yun. Ye Yun was the elder woman, and I was young, but I had just delivered the baby. I had to carry the palm leaves on my head together with that Ye or grandma. It was really hard work for me.
Est-ce que vous aviez assez de lait pour nourrir votre...
Did you have enough milk to feed your baby with, in spite of the difficult working conditions, the tediousness of the work you had to do, and the lack of rest?
I felt sick because of that hard work, and I could not produce the breast milk for my child. I became very thin, and I went out to seek gruel to feed my child, and my child at the time became pale as well because I did not have any breast milk for the baby.
Avant janvier 1979,
Prior to January 1979, after your day's work, were you able to go back to your baby on each occasion, or you were separated from your baby?
President, please observe the microphone, Madam Civil Party. Civil Party. On the 1st January 1979, which is the Liberation Day, said the Civil Party, I could go back and see my siblings, relatives, and parents. We did not have enough food to eat, but we could still find food to eat.
je voudrais revenir à...
I would like us to go back to what you said earlier, that is to say that after your marriage, you lived with your husband in different places, and you were authorized to get together 3 days or 3 nights a month. Why did the regime, as you said, aim to increase the population and number of children, and in that, for that purpose, they authorized couples to get together only 3 nights a month?
I do not know the policy of the party. I do not know whether it was true. I do not know the policy of the party.
Peut-être dernière question.
This will be my last question. I will quote to you what you said in an interview you gave to DC CAM, and it is document E3/10710, last page in all 3 languages. And it is the conclusions you drew as regards the regime. I'm quoting in English because the translation is better.
Of 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days was a waterfall of tears. Husbands did not meet their wives. Children did not meet their mothers. They were not allowed to know each other. They cut off all sentiment. They did not allow us to meet and know each other. End of quote. Pourquoi, d'après ce que vous avez pu...
From what you were able to observe at the time, why were the children not allowed to meet and to get to know their mothers? Why were the husbands not allowed to know their wives? Why did they not have to develop feelings for one another?
It is still a question in my mind. Children of 6 or 7 years old were separated from parents and put in a separate unit, and they were also required to work. And as for teenagers, they were put in a different location, separate, different from the unit of the parents. They stayed and ate separately. It is still a question in my mind about the purpose of the regime. During the time I lived under the leadership of them, I do not know. I didn't know, and I still do not know the purpose of ANCA. They said they wanted to build the country, but what for? They did not allow people to eat. People lived, but they could not eat sufficiently, although there was abundance of rice. Rice was cooked together with maize and banana stem. As for gruel was cooked with maize. I did not really know about the purpose of ANCA and the policy of ANCA.
Juste une dernière question.
Just one last follow-up question with regard to that. Children under the Democratic Cambodia regime, were they meant to prefer Angkar, or could they prefer their parents?
Children were required to respect ANCA. In my opinion, the children, required to love ANCA more than the parents. President, thank you. It is now time for the adjournment, and the chamber will resume its hearing on Monday at 9 a.m. And next week on Monday, the chamber will continue hearing the testimony of Priep Sokun, and then proceed to hear the sufferings and victim impact statements of civil party on the regulation of marriage. Please be informed and please be on time. The chamber is grateful to you, Madam Priep Sokun. The hearing of your suffering has not come to an end yet. You are invited to come here once again on Monday at 9 a.m. Court officers, please work with the vessels to send Madam civil party back to the place where she is staying at the moment, and please invite her to come and continue to provide testimony or sufferings on Monday. Security personnel are instructed to bring Nuon Chie Kyo Sampon back to the ECCC's detention facility and have them returned on Monday before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.